Pollyanna Principle number 2 states that each and every one of us is creating the future with everything we do, whether we do so consciously or not. And we sort of know that. We know that the way we got here is really just a result of cause and effect that got us here, and that we are the causes that are going to create future effects. We know that. How can we hold ourselves accountable then for creating the future we consciously want to create? Well, we all know how we create the future in organizations. We plan, right? We do planning. And we do strategic planning because we know and we have been taught that strategic planning is our organization at its best. This is when we're going to plan to accomplish what we can accomplish. Do we plan to create an extraordinary future for our communities? Do we ask the question, what is our community going to be like in 10 years, and 50 years, and 100 years because we exist? No, we don't. What we plan for in a big, really strategic plan is 5 years. How many of you guys have actually gone out 5 years in your plans? Okay. Some of you may have gone out 10 years. I mean, and everybody goes, wow, 10 years. We don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. But mostly we're looking at 2-year plans. And what we're hearing now is a trend that says it's so unpredictable what's going to happen in 2 years that we should only do 1-year plans. What we are planning for is today. And more to the point, what we're planning about is what we don't like about today. We are planning to fix what we don't like about today. And we are rooting our plans, tethering our plans solidly in what we don't like about today. We do needs assessments, we do environmental scans, we do SWOT analyses where we look at our current strengths and weaknesses and our current opportunities and threats, the current environment in our community, the current needs. Oh my gosh, we need to know where we are. Now we're told that our strategic plan is a roadmap to the future, right? Yeah, we've all heard that analogy. Okay, so I drew a map. You'll quickly see why I'm not the artist in the group that Dimitri is. This is the best I can do. I have in our office actually drawn the United States, and they tell me to please not do that again, so I won't. Let's say that we were going to take a road trip from Prescott to New York City. Okay? We are here in Prescott, Arizona, and we're going to go to New York City. And actually, Dimitri and I did that last year. We put 9,000 miles on our car doing a tour of, I can't even remember, I think it was 20 states, and went into Canada to share this message. So we're going to drive from Prescott to New York City. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to study all the roads in Prescott. Because we got to know where we are, right? There may be ice on some of those roads, so we're going to listen to the highway report to see what's going on in Prescott. We're going to ask our neighbors, you're going to put your trash out tomorrow? Because I need to know, because I'm going to go to New York City. And we're going to spend 95% of our time looking at Prescott, Arizona. It's going to be a bumpy ride, guys, and you may never get to New York. Well, when I say 95% of our time, people usually say to me, oh, come on, we don't spend that much time focused on the present when we're doing our plans. Well, how about this? We spend a month, maybe 2 months doing a needs assessment. We spend a month, maybe 2 months doing an environmental scan. We hire a consultant to help us do all of that. Then we take 6 hours, if we're lucky, with our boards, and we quote-unquote create the future. We are rooting, tethering our plans to what we don't like about today. And then hoping somehow a miracle will occur and we will get to the future we want to create. So if the Pollyanna Principle holds true, that we're creating the future, whether we do so consciously or not, what does that make possible? Here's what we found. We can plan to consciously create the future. And it's not airy-fairy, and it's not the age of Aquarius. It is what we do all the time. It is what each and every one of you does all the time. Question for you guys. I need to be at the airport. What time should I set my alarm for? What's the question you're going to ask me?
What time are you taking off?
What time is my flight? And what am I going to do? I'm going to figure it out backwards. I'm going to say, okay, my flight is at noon. Probably leave about 2 hours for security. That'll take me down to 10. Take about an hour to get to the airport. That'll take me down to 9. I still have to pack. I still have some laundry to do. I got to deal with the dog. I got to get up at 4:30. I probably shouldn't go to sleep. You've now heard how we pack for most of our trips. But we do this with everything. If you're planning a dinner party, my guests are arriving at 7, I want to make sure that dinner is ready by 8, I got to have everything in the oven by this time, I got to set the table. We work backwards in every single thing we do. What time do I need to leave the office to get my kid to soccer on time? Everything we do, we work backwards, except planning for our organizations. In our organizations, we root ourselves in the present, and we plan as far out as we might possibly predict we could see. And so we can say, what is the vision, just like you guys asked at your tables, what is the vision for what is possible in our communities? That's what we want to tether our plans to. That's what we want to root ourselves to. And then we ask, well, what conditions would need to be in place in the community for that to happen? Well, we'd need to have this in the community, we'd need to have that, people would need to be like this. Okay, well, what conditions would lead to that? Well, they'd need to have this and they'd need to have that, and we work our way backwards. We look at the cause and effect we know we are part of, and we consciously create the cause and effect by reverse engineering the future we want to create. And then we get to something that says, you know what, we could actually do this piece right here and this piece right here. And now we are walking and taking steps forward to create the future we want, rather than reacting to the present that we don't like. In the Pollyanna Principles, I share 3 case studies. We have done this planning. The thing that charged us the most in 1998, when we had that sort of mind switch, was a strategic plan we had done. And so we've been doing strategic planning the longest. And we actually don't call it strategic planning anymore. We call it community impact planning, because that's what we're about, community impact. We show 3 examples in the Pollyanna Principles, 3 case studies: a recovery organization, a university leadership program, and a public broadcast system. And what all of those show is that it is practical and doable, and you'll see the amazing results these guys came up with and started to implement. But what you'll also see is that we're not talking about predicting the future. We're not talking about scenario planning, which some of you may have been involved in at certain times. And scenario planning is where you take 3 or 4 of what you think predicting might be likely scenarios and play them all out of what might happen and what might we do to prepare for that. It's not that. We're not predicting. We're creating. We're creating the cause and effect that we can step towards the future we want, instead of constantly reacting to the present that we don't want. So if that is what success looks like, and if we are holding ourselves accountable for creating that future, then we need to know that the means we use are aligned behind that. When I was a kid and I was learning to drive, I was 16, and I was, surprise, I was a little high-strung as a 16-year-old. I'm a little high-strung as a 51-year-old. And I was crazed. I mean, I'm behind the wheel of this car, and I am so nervous, and the car is just swaying all over the place. And my poor dad, God bless him, says, "Pull over. Stop the car. What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm watching the road." And he said, "If you look where you're going, the car will go there. If we look where we're headed, the car will go there." So if we align our means behind our end results and don't use means that go counter to those end results, our car will go there. So let's start looking at the Pollyanna Principles that address the issues of the means that we use to get our car where we want it to go.